right, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. We have I think, a real exciting event planned today. We're going to, on the heels of Belfast Whiskey Week ending officially, I guess, yesterday or last night, we're going to do our own Belfast-themed event and celebrate the recent opening of the McConnell's Distillery in Belfast, which opened in April. And so what we're going to do today, I've got the chat function set up for you. We can't see everybody who's on the event on the screen, just for visual purposes, but use the chat function if you have questions along the way. But I can tell you that, just to give you an idea of the agenda, to help you maybe with questions you might have, we're going to be going over the brand's history. We're going to be sampling along the way. We're going to talk about the bottle design, the spelling, the new distillery, pretty much cover things along the way. So the order we'll do the distillery at the end. So if you have specific questions on that, that will be coming at the end. But I'm really happy because you don't have to listen to me tell you about it. We actually have a special guest today, McConnell's Brand Ambassador Evan McCool.
Hi, everyone.
Who's by way of Dublin originally, if I have that correct. And he is going to take us through today's presentation and the whiskey sampling, and hopefully can answer all your questions along the way.
I'll do my best.
All right, so why don't we'll kick it off, Evan. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all having a great Sunday. My name is Evan McCool. I am the US brand ambassador for McConnell's Irish Whiskey. So I got over here living in New York now since November, so I'm still fairly fresh off the boat, but I'm settling in pretty well in the northeast region of the United States. So very happy to be here. Very happy to be chatting to you all on this lovely Sunday evening. And yeah, I've been with the company about 8 months now, so it's been an absolute delight. And I'm not sure if you are all too familiar with McConnell's now, but hopefully after today you'll be loving some more Irish whiskey and some more beautiful whiskey from Belfast, Ireland. As you can see on the slide there, it's been around since 1776. So something I always say is we're as old as America, which is kind of crazy to think about. When you guys are making this amazing country, we were making some amazing Irish whiskey. And yeah, I can't wait to chat to you guys more about the beautiful whiskey that we have, the beautiful distillery that we have, and the amazing bottle as well. And there is definitely plenty of history in the last 250 years almost that we'll get started on now. So in the early 1700s, Hugh McConnell was the father of two young sons, John and James McConnell. Unfortunately, Hugh passed away when the two boys were only 2 years old. So their mother, Eleanor McConnell, raised the boys and was a spirits grocer and a spirits dealer. She raised the boys for about 20 years before they took over the business of the McConnell's Irish Whiskey. There was unfortunately no distillery at the time, but they eventually made the distillery later on. Obviously, in 1700s, it would be pretty rare that there would be a woman kind of running a company, so it kind of shows how Belfast was ahead of its time in that sense, raising two boys and raising an amazing company that is now worldwide. And yeah, it's a pretty amazing story, and it's definitely plenty more to talk about. So in the 1800s, McConnell's opened the Cromac Distillery. It was in the heart of Belfast on Ravenhill Road, which is still there today. They opened a brewery originally, used porter grain to make stout and beer, and they also made McConnell's Irish whiskey. We still have one bottle around today from the original Irish whiskey. It's in a museum in Belfast, and the owner of that museum and that liquor store will not sell it for love nor money. It has been sitting there for many years and it'll be there for many more years untouched. But it's a really beautiful bottle, and we tried to reciprocate that through the bottle itself. That we still have today and that we still sell around the world. We used the Cromac wells as a source of our alkaline water. This is a kind of a huge piece of it's a staple of Belfast, the Cromac Distillery and the Cromac wells. You can see from the numbers there in the bottom left corner the exports of whiskey from Ireland just all around the world back in the 1800s to the 1900s, and you can see that Belfast was the epicenter of Irish whiskey back in the day. Pre-prohibition, it was booming, and we were lucky to be a part of that. It was one of the most amazing cities in the world back in the 1900s. There's still plenty of shipyards there. Obviously, the Titanic was built there, so we've had some amazing accomplishments in Belfast, and we have some pretty good stuff still there. So it's pretty lovely. And we have also a lot of people don't know that ginger ale was originally made in Belfast. So whiskey ginger ales have been going hand in hand for almost 250 years. It's certainly a lot of people's fan favorites. But yeah, they've been going. It's a nice little fun fact that we always like to mention, and it's something that people don't really realize until until we start talking about it. We were lucky enough to when we opened the Cromac Distillery, we had 5 bonded warehouses scattered around the city. So we certainly had a lot of whiskey, beer, and stout to offer around. So it was a nice time for McConnell's Irish whiskey and for the city of Belfast. And then in April of 1909, one of our largest bonded warehouses was set aflame. It burnt to the ground. 500,000 gallons of Irish whiskey were destroyed, and a loss of £200,000 back in the 1900s, which is the equivalent of $7 million today, all burnt to flames. The insurance company that were insuring McConnell's Irish whiskey at the time unfortunately had to go out of business after this, but we were lucky enough to keep our doors open, and we were a very resilient company. We showed how kind of powerful we were. We have 4 other bonded warehouses, so we kept our doors open. We kept spreading the word of McConnell's Irish whiskey around the world for as long as we could, and it just shows how strong and resilient this company was. And yeah, and that was the 1900s, just the start of the 1900s. We'll talk a bit more about obviously prohibition didn't really help our case. Over 50% of our exports were to America. You guys really love our Irish whiskey, and you still do, which I love to hear. But obviously prohibition was a huge problem for us. And obviously the global upheaval, we had the World War I, we had World War II, and we also had a civil war in Ireland. So it was a lot of problems that we had at the time. Thankfully, they're well behind us, but also such a big boom of Scotch back in the early 1900s. It became so popular because they were able to produce it at such a quick speed through the column still, whereas in Ireland we use the pot still. So they would again be able to produce huge amounts of Scotch where it would take us almost 3 times as long as we were using the pot stills. So with their huge production, they became a lot more popular, and with the growth of Hollywood as well. Celebrities in Hollywood were advertising Scotch, and it just became such a huge part of Hollywood culture, just like a Scotch on ice or yeah, Scotch and ice, became hugely popular, which definitely didn't help our sales. But onwards and upwards, we move on, and we're here to kind of restore the legend and kind of bring back what was so amazing about Irish whiskey back in the 1700s. And that's what I suppose I'm here for, kind of getting you guys known about it. Irish whiskey is certainly on the come up again. Hopefully by the year 2030, we have projected that Irish whiskey will outgrow Scotch sales in the US again, once again. So it's been a long time since it's been like that. After the Prohibition, there was only two distilleries left in Ireland. Now there is almost 50 distilleries back in the island of Ireland. So we're certainly on our way back, and people are starting to love Irish whiskey again. We're trying to make it into a more modern drink. A lot of people see Irish whiskey as kind of your typical old man drink, but we all know it's just an amazing drink that everyone loves, and we're trying to get the word out there. And you're definitely gonna, I can tell you're gonna love some of the McConnell's 5-year blend that we have, and the McConnell's sherry cask that we have. And our growth trajectory is going to be through the roof over the next 10 years, and hopefully we'll all be a part of some amazing history when we come back and talk about it in 10 years. And as you can see there, it's just like a small snapshot of all the countries that we're in the world. We're in all 50 states, thankfully. I don't know how we're out in Alaska. I don't know how we're out in Hawaii, but we're there somehow. And yeah, we're privileged enough to be talked about all around the world. We've become very popular in South Africa. We've become very popular in Australia and New Zealand. And people in Asia, like Japan and China, are huge fans of Irish whiskey. They just love talking about it. They love their Irish whiskey expos, and we're very privileged to be a part of such an amazing culture that everyone loves Irish whiskey, and that's what we're here for. And yeah, a bit about our Irish whiskey now. So you guys can finally get to try some amazing 5-year Irish whiskey, aged for 5 years in a first fill ex-bourbon cask. It's a beautiful bottle, and it's been in the cask for, as you guys may know, Irish whiskey has to be aged for 3 years in 1 day. So 3 is kind of our lucky number over in Belfast. So it has to be aged for 3 years. They use 3 pot stills, and yeah, so we age ours for an extra 2 years. That extra 2 years kind of gives it an extra bit of smoothness, an extra bit of sweetness, also an extra bit of alcohol due to the angel share. A lot of people talk about the angel share when that extra bit of water is evaporated. It's a sacrifice to the gods for this beautiful piece of Irish whiskey that we have. So with that extra bit of evaporation, it gives more alcohol, and it gives a better Irish whiskey, I would say, anyway, personally. I normally don't tell people how to drink their Irish whiskey. Everyone to their own. Everyone can drink it in a cocktail. They can drink it on the rocks. They can drink it neat. Just depends what you're really into. But obviously the notes are really citrusy. They're light with a bit of peppered spice, and you kind of get undertones of vanilla. It is obviously with the oily texture to it. It's very prominent, and you kind of still have the notes and the taste are very similar due to the oily texture and the beautifulness and the perfection of the blend that they made.
Let me just if everybody's poured, and maybe you haven't sampled yet, but sláinte, everyone.
Sláinte.
Sorry to interrupt, Evan, but
Absolutely no. It's essential, I suppose. It'd be rude not to sláinte for everything. And yeah, obviously on the finish, I'll let you guys take it to your own interpretation, but it's just very sweet, very spiced oak, and it's just a really good Irish whiskey that doesn't really have that kick at the back of the throat that some Irish whiskies, not going to mention names, but some Irish whiskies would have that kick at the back of the throat, that burn that you'd be kind of expecting from your typical Irish whiskey. But we're lucky enough, thanks to our amazing head distiller in the Crumlin Road Jail, Graham Miller. He has done an amazing job with this Irish whiskey, and I'm very excited to yeah, I'm very excited for you guys to try our other Irish whiskey as well, the sherry cask, which we'll try in a little bit. But
have you I have a question from the group. I don't know if you can share this information or not, but curious where you're sourcing your uh, bourbon barrels from.
So we get all of our stuff. We are currently getting all of our stuff from Great Northern Distillery. It's about an hour away from the Crumlin Road Jail. It's owned by John Teeling, the father of the two Teeling brothers, who make some incredible Irish whiskey in the Liberties in Dublin. So we are about an hour away from the Crumlin Road Jail while we're still waiting for our stuff to mature and age correctly in our bourbon barrels, which we get from them at the moment.
How many, maybe thumbs up or on the chat, have people prior to today been able to try McConnell's 5 year? Or is this the first time for a lot of you? I know Evan mentioned that it's available, more wider distribution than most Irish whiskeys. So hopefully the stores are carrying them, but people should have been able to at least see the 5 year. I know.
Yeah, I can see Larry with the 5 year there. He has the bottle there, which is what I love to see. Also, notice that it's a bit empty, so you need to get a bit of a refreshment. But no, I love to see the support, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys really like it.
Yeah, so I'm asking too because I'm just curious um, if people have had it before. It's great that you joined to learn more about the brand, and if you're a first timer, so that's just I'm just curious how many people may not have had the chance to have it yet. So I see Scott first time, so my name's Tim as well. So
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to introduce you guys to this Irish whiskey. I mean, there's plenty of amazing Irish whiskeys out there, but I really hope you guys are enjoying it. And thanks a million for your time so far on a lovely Sunday evening.
while we're enjoying that, maybe we can hear more about the bottle that I know you said that Larry has.
Absolutely, yeah. So the bottle kind of gives the whole history of I see Matt has another bottle there. Is that the sherry cask I see? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Lovely. Thank you very much for the support. Really appreciate it.
I have the sherry handy.
Oh yeah, you're in for a
The
treat when we
five
get onto the
five
sherry.
year was killed a while ago, and I just didn't take it out for this.
Yeah, yeah, no, I don't blame you. It's a bit dangerous. Yeah, it's almost too good. But a bit about the bottle. So the bottle kind of gives the whole history of McConnell's Irish whiskey. I have a bottle here actually, which I'll kind of help to go through. So we actually shaped the bottle. You can see like an indent here. For it represents a medicine capsule. So back in the 1700s when we were founded, whiskey was prescribed to cure sickness by doctors. We used to actually have the prescription on the bottle. You can see it in the photo there on the bottom left, with the extracts of analysis. But unfortunately, due to Irish regulations, we had to take it off the bottle for legal reasons, which is not ideal. Understandable, but not ideal. Uh, exactly, James. Wow. But what can you do? We still have kind of we have a similar outline where we just talk about the history of the bottle now and the history of the company and the revival of Irish whiskey. So yeah, we put it in the shape of a medicine capsule because back in the 1700s, whiskey was prescribed to cure sickness. We also give tribute to Belfast being such an industrial town. Titanic was built there. There's still plenty of shipyards there. And it is just a really amazing place to be. And you can see established in 1776. So we definitely couldn't leave that piece of information out. It's an amazing city. I like to call Belfast it's recently gentrified. So there's this place in New York called Bushwick, which is just known for all the kind of young hipsters that are all very alternative and they all dress very uniquely is a good way of putting it. And I like to call Belfast the Bushwick of Ireland. So it's recently gentrified. It's kind of the happening place. Everyone wants to be there. It's unbelievable social scene, and there's just nothing. There's nothing to not love about Belfast. We also are lucky enough to have the Harp of Erin on our bottle. So the Harp of Erin has always been a symbol of Ireland. The original name for the Harp of Erin, Oscailga, or in Irish, is Erin Gabra. Erin in Irish means Ireland, and Gabra means for eternity or forever. So it's kind of just a symbol of Ireland being Ireland forever, Ireland for eternity. It was used in the 1700s on flags during Irish rebellions against the United Kingdom when we were trying to obviously get our country back from the United Kingdom, which took a few centuries, but we got there eventually. And yeah, we're still using this symbol today, and we're lucky enough to be able to use that. Obviously, 250 years has gone by since we started using it, and it's a privilege to still be able to use it today. And
if for those of you who haven't seen the actual full bottles, because the minis are a pretty good replica, but don't capture fully, and that's not meant as a negative, but the full bottles are really nice. This was nominated, I believe, for best bottle design in last year's ISI Awards, but it's got really some cool features too, with the beveled glass, the replica homage that you mentioned on the full bottles is kind of the metal tin, whereas it's just the sticker label on the minis for obvious reasons. But
yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that if they could do this with the minis, it would be unbelievable. But I
yeah,
think
it would also cost a lot more though too, I suppose. But so if
absolutely,
you can get your hands on a full bottle, they really do jump off the shelf. I think in the store they're beautiful.
yeah,
All
they're
all
really
the
good.
everything that goes into it.
Yeah. Another thing that I forgot to mention is on the top of the bottle.
Oh
Unfortunately, it's
yeah,
not on minis, but I have
yep.
there you are. So this is kind of a double entendre. It works quite well. It's supposed to represent the strings of the harp on the Harp of Erin, but they've now kind of talked about it being the prison bars as well for the new prison in the Crumlin Road jail. So it kind of works. It's the best of both worlds. They got lucky with that one as well, and obviously, we kind of give it the bottle has a decanter effect at the top, which is just a really beautiful tribute to Irish whiskey, and it has a kind of a tribute to the pot still as well with that shape there. So they did excellent job with the bottle. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is the amazing
Beveled glass.
beveled glass. There you are. Couldn't think of the word. Apologies. But it's a symbol of Irish bars. We have these small rooms in the Irish bars called snugs. And as I was mentioning, how Belfast was ahead of its time. Women weren't allowed drink in these Irish bars back in the 1700s, the 1800s. So in these small rooms called snugs where they had the beveled glass and they had kind of tinted glass so you couldn't see in, they'd allow these women to go in and drink in these small snugs. So we kind of give tribute to Mother McConnell and just the kind of the way Belfast was ahead of its time with drinking and allowing women to be themselves. And something that is one of those things on the bottle, once you see it, you can't unsee it. We do not have an E in the whiskey of McConnell's Irish whiskey. McConnell's Irish whiskey has been around since the 1700s. So the E only started getting added to Irish whiskey whenever Scotch became so popular and so prevalent in the world of liquor. Obviously we've been around since it was popular, so since before it was popular. So we stuck to our roots and we're not changing for anyone. And we decided to leave it out for culture and for our history. And it's something that we're really proud of, and it'll be around for another 250 years, hopefully, without an E in it. And yeah, it's a real privilege to be working for a company that's been around for almost 250 years, coming up very soon.
Is that a common question that you get from people, either, tours or when you're doing presentations, they ask about the E?
A lot of people wouldn't even notice it, to be honest. Only regular whiskey drinkers would kind of notice it. So a lot of the time I'd just mention it to kind of make sure people know that we didn't misspell it. We we knew what we were doing, and we were sticking to our roots. But yeah, your typical Irish whiskey drinkers would recognize the thing. It's one of those things that kind of stands out, I suppose. And yeah,
Yeah, I would think in America where we have the E for the most part, except for a couple brands, it might be noticeable. Or if you're a Scotch drinker,
yeah, yeah.
you might um, be surprised that an Irish whiskey is spelled this way. But there are a few.
Yeah, there's a few Irish whiskies around and a few bourbons around, especially that
Yep.
have a missing that E. But you love to see it.
Yeah.
Stick to our roots.
All right.
Now the what I like to call the main event, it is the McConnell's sherry cask finish. So it is our 5-year Irish whiskey, aged in that first fill ex-bourbon barrel, and then it is then transferred into a 20-year-old Oloroso sherry cask from Jerez in Spain. So aged an extra 8 to 11 months, depending on the weather in Ireland. The warmer the weather, the quicker it's going to age. So we have after 8 months, we have our head distiller Graham, who's going down to the distillery every week or so, testing it to see how it's aging, see how it's forming, and it's 92 proof, so it definitely has a bit more alcohol to it. Obviously, it's not your typical Irish whiskey, but they did an excellent job with it on the nose. You get those dried fig from the sherry cask. A lot of people smell very pungent sherry to it, but it's got some kind of Christmas character to it, and it's got a bit of nutmeg, a bit of cinnamon, dark chocolate, and a hint of leather. So it's kind of got everything that you'd love in a Irish whiskey, and it kind of gives that warmth. This, I must say, however you drink it, personally, this in an Irish coffee is second to none. I know it can be sometimes sacrilegious to mix your Irish whiskey with other stuff, but I think this in an Irish coffee will definitely wake you up. And then the extra sweetness given to it through the sherry cask is kind of really suits the Irish coffee very well, I must say. Taste of brown sugar on the palate, and the dark ripe cherries kind of makes it perfect for even sipping, neat. But it is a very unique Irish whiskey, and it's become certainly a fan favorite in the last few months. And yeah, we've only actually been around since 2020. So we reopened our doors in 2020 after being closed for about 80 years. We closed our doors in the 1930s due to the Prohibition and due to the World War, the Civil War, and the growth of Scotch. But so since we've reopened our doors, we've won over a dozen awards. Most recently, we had an award in Dublin in the Irish. I'm not sure if you guys attended it, the Irish Whiskey Fest in Dublin. So we won an award there for best blended Irish whiskey, and we haven't even added that to the array of awards that we have on the screen there. But it just shows how great a job Graham is doing in the distillery out in Belfast, and he's making my job easier, I suppose.
What are people's thoughts on the sherry finish?
People have recently been loving the sherry finish, just because it's not your typical Irish whiskey. It is definitely got a bit more heat to it. I know a lot of Americans love their high percentage bourbons and their high percentage alcohol, so they kind of love that extra bit of heat to it. But also it's just a really unique flavor that people haven't kind of experienced before, I suppose. So it's definitely become a fan favorite, and it's definitely it's an easy sell for whiskey lovers, I suppose. And now we get on to the McConnell's Distillery and Visitor Experience in the Crumlin Road Jail. So we are lucky enough to have signed the rights to a 150-year lease on the Crumlin Road A wing. So we have 5 different wings to the prison, and we, as you can see there, we have the one on the left beside the main entrance of it. And the one in the center is a museum for the actual prison itself. So they give kind of a detailed history lesson on everything that's gone through in the prison. There's been executions, there's been escapes, there's been, you name it, there's been something. There was actually a few explosion attempts or explosion attempts. Yeah, explosion
Bombing.
attempts. Yeah, there we go. That's one. A few bombing attempts. In the A Wing prison, in the canteen or the dining hall, I suppose, and they just talk about some of the amazing history that has been around for 150 years. It closed its doors in 1996, so you still bump into a few people in Belfast that have actually been in the prison, that have been spent a few nights in there. I was working in upstate New York about a month ago, and I was offering a guy a bit of a whiskey, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I had a few nights in there." So there's definitely a few people out there that have experienced the not so nice side of the prison, but we're lucky enough to kind of completely change that. The interior and the exterior had to be kind of carefully manufactured and carefully changed, and we weren't allowed to change a lot of the interior because it's such an ancient, it's such a precious building. So as you can see there, that is the entrance to the prison and the distillery. So once you walk in, you have this amazing staircase that has been there for almost 150 years. And we're coming up to 30 years that it's been closed. And the amazing kind of V columns that are holding up the prison. It's a really beautiful attraction that we're hoping to have over 100,000 visitors every year. The actual museum itself that's next door had over 150,000 visitors pre-COVID. So every year 150,000 people are going in. So hopefully we'll get back up to those numbers now that we're kind of back to normality, and that people will kind of be flowing from the museum into what is an amazing distillery. We also will be offering cocktail masterclasses and tasting kind of the what's it called, the 2 Irish whiskies that we have. We also have a 20-year coming out. We have an amazing event space where you can host private dinners, where you can do. They recently did a fashion show for Belfast Fashion Week, just along beside that staircase there. We have an amazing bar on the roof, on the top floor, and we have a lovely cafe. So it has everything you could possibly imagine that you need in a Irish whiskey distillery. So we have you name it, we have it.
I did some pictures of the stills.
Yeah, so
You guys
again, as I
look.
was saying, the 3 is our lucky number in Irish whiskey. It has to be aged for 3 years. We use our 3 pot stills there, and we actually put the 3 pot stills beside cell number 33. So it kind of gives tribute to 3, that special number. And it's really beautiful. It took them, there was a massive waiting list for those pot stills, but they got them in finally. And it's a really amazing experience. And hopefully you guys get to see it very soon.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's our annual trip next year.
You're gonna have a blast. I'm very
Yeah,
jealous. I might have to go with you.
yeah. So I think we're plan is Belfast, and still a little ways away, but we'll start to put that together. a trip to the distillery would certainly be part of the itinerary.
It would be rude not to. It's in the center of Belfast City, and it's an amazing experience to get to legally drink in a prison, I suppose. So
There you go, and not be afraid you're gonna have to stay.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple people have already been fortunate enough to visit. I think just in the few months that it's been open, so that's been great.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, it's a
So
beautiful location, and it's a
you mentioned, because it's only been open a few months now, and we're gonna have to wait several years for what you're distilling to come to market. Um, I guess, are you privy to tell us plans for maybe additional releases beyond the two that we may have tried today? I know that the 20-year, I think, was the limited edition was released, but maybe tell us other whiskey release plans while we anxiously wait.
They actually haven't told me yet, so once I find out, I'll let
Okay,
you know.
fair enough.
But they do have a barrel program at the moment where you can invest in your own barrel for a certain amount of money when you visit the distillery. Obviously it's a huge investment, and they age it for up to 8 years, I think, and then after that you can pay for however much longer you want to age it. It would be a pretty amazing project if you had the spare money lying around to do that. But it's yeah, other than the 20-year for the moment, I think that's all we have planned for the minute anyway. I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're definitely doing something right there. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll have a few things in their back pocket that they'll surprise us with.
Because the 20-year is not that you could only purchase it at the distillery, I think.
It's being released very soon in the US. Well, not very soon.
Oh,
It'll
is it
be
really? Okay,
in the
great.
fall. Yeah, we're getting a small amount of product in from Belfast. We're lucky enough to be able to get a small amount of product in it, so it's going to be tough to get your hands on. I think $400 a bottle is kind of what they're thinking. But which is obviously it's a lot of money to be dishing out in a bottle of whiskey, but it would definitely be worth it in the long run if you were to say invest it, or if you just love trying the older stuff.
Mhm.
But hopefully it'll be in all 50 states. I'm not too sure how they're gonna
Oh,
pass it
allocate it.
around.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it goes.
What so maybe I'll put a question out to the group. Um, any preference on one of the whiskeys over the other? Did you have a favorite between the two today? Sherry.
I'm definitely going for the sherry out of the two, which is not normal for me.
Okay, interesting.
Sherry, definitely the sherry.
Yeah, I think people have definitely become it is quite a unique Irish whiskey that they've uh they've made, and it's certainly become a fan favorite recently. But I'm glad you guys really like the sherry. That's all.
I was just gonna say, so somebody asked earlier about it's a grain and pot. What is like kind of the grain, the mash bill on that? Is it something that can be shared, or is it?
Yeah, so we have a 70% neutral grain and a 30% malted grain, or malted barley,
Okay.
sorry. So I know the minimum in Ireland is 10% malted barley.
Mhm.
So a lot of the kind of the companies age it for 3 years and 1 day, with the 10% malted barley, and just throw it straight in the shelf. We love to make ours a more premium brand and make it more premium Irish whiskey. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it today, and that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. Yeah, solid.
Um, Another maybe a technical question, but a question come up about whether the sherry cask is a first fill or
First fill sherry cask.
yeah, is it a first fill or is it a second or third fill? I guess is the question.
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Given that I'm gonna guess that it's a 20-year, it might not be a first fill.
Yeah, it would be pretty pricey if it was. And it would definitely be a bit more expensive than it is in the shelves today. But I'm going to assume
Yeah,
not. I'll have to double
yeah,
check.
I assumed not as well because the sherry influence is there, but not overpowering. So that's why I thought it was probably at least a second or third fill.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Scott. But I'll have to double check with you, and I'll definitely be back to let you guys know. Thanks a million for your time today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the two Irish whiskies that we had. And I hope you guys, if you get the chance when you're up in Belfast, get to pop into the distillery. Send my best to the team. But thanks a million for your time. I really appreciate it, especially on a Sunday evening. And I'm glad I got to introduce some of you to McConnell's Irish whiskey, and I'm glad that there's some of you that have tried it before and that are loving it. And thanks a million for supporting some Irish whiskey and getting the name out there and getting people loving Irish whiskey again. Thanks a million, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you, Evan.
Evan.
Thank you for your time as well.
We're gonna stay on. I'll keep you guys on for a couple minutes. Evan, you're more than welcome to stick around if you'd like. I just want to kind of continue on the theme we were touching on slightly, because the goal is to go to Belfast in May. So the Whiskey Live has been announced in basically the same time it was this year, the last 2 years, in mid-May. So the plan is to visit, to do our trip to Belfast next year. So we did Dublin, then we did Galway this year, do Belfast next year, and visit the distillery in Belfast, certainly as part of our stay in Belfast for the week, among other things. So the itinerary is still being worked on. But, hopefully there's so much going on in Belfast right now. So this opening of the distillery last year at the same time, the Titanic distillery was opened. So between going and visiting the Titanic Museum and the Titanic distillery, and then now you've got the jail museum tour and McConnell's distillery. So you can do quite a bit without even leaving Belfast. But we'll be sure to get out on the road a little bit and visit some other sites too. But so definitely stay tuned to information about that and signing up. I know I think the people that have gone on the trips the last couple of years have enjoyed them a lot. So I'm looking forward to the visit to Belfast. The other thing I wanted to mention while I still had y'all was just the update on the bottle release. So the hope was to have it ready right now, actually, but it just got delayed with the labels because the labeling agency is very difficult from everyone I talk to over there. They keep changing what they do, so I can't even do it justice. But apparently, they'll say you'll submit a label like the one you see here, and then you'll submit an identical looking label for your next release, and they'll tell you to change, the size of your font, even though they approved it on the previous release. So it makes it can make it very difficult to get this stuff through. But we finally got it approved, and it's being printed. There's about a 2-week turnaround. So long story short, it should be available in a couple weeks through Irish Malts. So you're going to want to, I'll probably announce it through the newsletter first, and then I'll also send out additional emails or alerts, that kind of thing. It's going to be member only link through Irish Malt, so it's not going to be just a general purchase kind of thing. So you might want to bundle up. You can buy multiple bottles, certainly if you want, or if you want to buy just one and buy other bottles from Irish malts, you can really cut down on the shipping costs. So I think a lot of you I know have used Irish malts over the years. You will remember too that we have the member discount for Irish malts, so you're going to want to make sure you use that to get the 10% off as well. So again, I'll keep you guys alerted to when that's available to grab. Any questions on? Maybe we can go back to McConnell's, but any questions on the upcoming release first?
Can you remind us what is the bottle count?
150.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it should be, it's a pretty unique whiskey. I don't believe there's been another, at least Irish whiskey, that's been finished in a Grenache wine. I believe they're going to be hand numbered, kind of like last time. So, but yeah, so I'm excited to get that to market finally. So we'll do once, again, depending a little bit on the timing, hopefully by mid-August it's available, and I haven't got a date exactly figured out yet, but towards the end of September, end of September, early October, depending on just getting a date coordinated with Jack Ryan. We'll do a bottle opening event, kind of like what we did with the first release a couple of years ago. I don't expect people to wait necessarily to open the bottle, but if you want to wait, that's great too. And we'll do another virtual toast with Wayne Curran from Jack Ryan. But I want to give about a month or so for people to order it and get it delivered and all that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking from a timing perspective. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on that, or on anything related to the McConnell's tasting?
Ken, I'd love for you to, if you're willing to talk about the tour, because it just seems like it might have been really, really cool. You mentioned the cafe. That'd be great.
So for some background, I was back in Ireland recently. I was going myself, but I also met up with a few friends of mine from California who came over. So I was their unofficial tour guide as we traveled around different parts of Ireland. When we were up in Belfast, we sort of split into two groups because there was a couple there with their daughter's also of drinking age, but they went to the Titanic exhibition, whereas we started our day at Titanic Distillery. So we did the tour there, which was the dry docks and the whiskey. The dry docks were fascinating.
Yeah, it's great.
Whiskey, not so much. It was sourced. The tour said you could try their new make, you couldn't, which was a bit disappointing. But we did this as part of the hop on, hop off bus. We then took the same bus back up to McConnell's. We had just missed I think it was like the 3 o'clock tour. They run tours on the hour. So we ordered food at the cafe. We sat and had a pint. It was really, really good. So they've very good Guinness there. The tour was good. It went into a lot more in-depth stuff about the family and Eleanor and what she did. I know it was glossed over sort of on the first slide, rectifying, but it went into a lot of detail about how she brought up the kids, how she ran the business. And so you sat in a nice room. The room probably held maybe 15, 20 people. You were sitting around a table. You could try some whiskey while you were watching the video. And then you went and did the tour itself, which talked about the history of the jail. You could see the stills. They talked about what they were doing. What was really interesting was even where they had removed the cells, they had the outlines of them there. So you could see the space that people were given. So it was a good contextual comparison. So I'm at the point where I prefer tours that don't just tell me this is how we make whiskey, because you can only listen to that so many times. So stuff like Pierce Lyons or this or even the Titanic one are more interesting because you get something on top of just how we make whiskey. We could see the Chromac bottle behind the bar, but they weren't serving it at that point. But it was actually very interesting and well worth doing. You could easily time it and do a proper tour of McConnell's jail at the same time as it, because obviously right beside each other. The only downside, I suppose, is it was only the same two whiskies, but they don't have any of their own distillate yet. I'm sure that will change in the future. But you did get to try both of the whiskies on it. Good gift shop, and the place was built like it's fabulous how it was done and sort of inserted in there and can be removed easily, relatively, without actually damaging sort of the building itself.
Yeah,
so I would definitely
what's great
recommend
about
it.
both of them is that, you know, because they've only been open, you know, less than a year, basically. Like you said, I think they're very much heavy on the history and uniqueness of the tours, kind of independent of the whiskeys, really. Particularly if you do the dry dock at Titanic, I think.
Yeah. I think the funny story for the dry dock one was they were trying to figure out how they could get a crane to lower equipment in, and they couldn't fit it in. And they looked up and they could see the original crane that was in the building. And they're like, well, could we use that? And they send, the young guy goes up and he gets up to where the crane is and it's just like, where's the control panel? And we were like, there is no control panel. Yeah. It's an old crane, but they were able to figure that out and use it. So yeah, they're far more interesting to see repurposed buildings, so you don't lose the building, you keep the history of the building, and then you can put something in there as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to including both of these on the trip next year.
You going to Donegal?
For the official trip?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
The challenge actually is just how to fit in. There's so much going on. So even just the two things in Belfast, which
but you could consider just as a day trip, though. Take the train up
to Dublin. Trips, but there are plenty of other things too. So it's a question of just figuring out how to prioritize and what things to do. Because we'll go up north. We'll go to the Causeway Coast and do that. And then it's just a question of, because you could go to Derry. You know, you could go east from Belfast, actually, or south. There's just so many places to hit now up in Northern Ireland, in addition, beyond even the distilleries. So how you fit it all in. Because it'll be the same pattern as before. We're not going to do like 4 or 5 distilleries in a day kind of thing. But we'll see. Still working it out. It's still a little early to be trying to plan it. Not so much on our part, but maybe on just planning that far out with some of the distilleries up there. Plus, they were just all dealing with Belfast Whiskey Week. Did anybody kind of follow any of that was going on? I know a couple of years ago when they did it was virtual, so you could do a lot of virtual events. Now it's back to being, you know, all live events. But
the virtual one was where I got my McConnell's glass from.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Not sure if it comes through in that, but yeah, I followed along. It was interesting, and you know, to your point of saying how do you organize with the distillery, what was funny when we did our tour was we went in and we said we'd like, you know, sign up for the 4 o'clock tour. And they said, you know, okay, we've 2 spaces left. How many of you are there? And there were 3 of us. They said, okay, we can fit that easily because another group had actually booked a block booking of the other 14 seats on the tour, so they all knew each other, which was interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is when you're organizing kind of a group trip, and a lot of it too, depending on the size of the group. You know, but some of the distilleries probably don't lend themselves to having, you know, 15 people show up all at once. A couple of the distilleries are real tiny, don't have visitor centers, things like that, or are remote. So you got to kind of try to balance the two, especially if you're getting in a bus and going out, you know, to go somewhere I try to balance it out a little bit so that if you're visiting a distillery, there's something else of interest either in the town or nearby that we can kind of do. So I think it'll work out well. We'll go in May again and be able to do Whiskey Live at the end of the week, kind of like what we did this year. But yeah, but I would think hopefully anything we don't do while we're on the actual trip, we'd be able to cover at Whiskey Live.
Yeah, the other thing you may want to consider in Belfast is Pure Irish, which is it's sort of an upstairs in a bar in Ballyhackmore. So it's a bus drive from Belfast city centre, but it was very a good place.
Oh,
Um,
I'm just Googling these things as they come up.
yeah.
It's above the Hearth Bar. It's run by a guy called Sam. He seems very, very nice, very down to earth. Met him there and then at Belfast or at Dublin Whiskey Live as well.
Yeah, so there's plenty to do. That's why we pick somewhere where there are other things to do, non-whiskey related even. So Belfast certainly has plenty of history with things to do. There's just some great pubs, and I'm going to try to get something organized with a friend in hand as well, can possibly. So, but we've got time, so that's good.
Yeah, I went into the friend at hand when I was there. I was hoping to see the Whiskey Museum, but Paul was doing promo stuff for Belfast Whiskey Week. Like, probably not a good time to ask, can I see it?
You would have had to just say you wanted to buy like 3 really old bottles, and then they would have made an exception.
With camera crews, yes.
Yeah, because as just some advice, if you're going in there, don't ask to see it unless you're buying a bottle.
Yeah. Well, I bought bottles, but no, I didn't ask because I knew they were filming something in there. So
Yeah.
it gives me a reason to go back. Which is a day trip, probably in October. We'll be back over to the day trip.
Does anyone have any upcoming trips to Ireland?
Yep.
Well, if anybody's been looking at Aer Lingus flights after the closeout there recently,
they're on sale.
They're exceedingly cheap.
Yeah, they're on sale now. So
get them while they're good.
Yeah, I'm going in about a month.
Oh,
but
nice.
It's a golf trip, and it's probably as far removed from Belfast as you can be. I'll be
Cork?
Southwest, even further probably.
Yeah.
So
we're going over with my in-laws as well. So it'll be Dublin, Donegal, may visit a small distillery that begins with the B somewhere near there, and Slieve League, and then down towards Waterford. So I'll go into a tour book for Waterford Distillery. Blackwater, unfortunately, won't work, and nor will Ballykeefe, just based on the days we'll be there, and then back up to Dublin. But should be fun.
The Waterford tour is great. I was able to do that last time I went. It was quite nice.
Oh, good.
They break out a lot of kind of unique bottlings. At least when we were there, we lucked out. It was not the usual, core range that a lot of places break out, and you just try.
Does Waterford have a core range?
Yeah, I was going to say everything.
Well, I think
they do now.
Right.
They do.
Yeah,
but it's funny.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Because it's all good. We've got a bottle of I've got a bottle of Rathclaw, and he's like, I haven't even tried it. He's like, if you come back, bring some. But he's like, because there's so much stuff that they've done. Like they'll do like that single farm, but they only do enough for just one market. So he said some of the stuff that goes to the U.S. is only in the U.S. and it's not even sold in that side of the pond. So it was interesting. But yeah, it was quite good because there's a lot of stuff I wanted to try out there. And for me, it's just figuring out they were doing some stuff in farms where my family was from.
The last time I was there was during COVID, so no tours at that time.
Yeah, the building itself that they're in is quite fascinating. But then where their offices are, it's a gorgeous old Georgian building.
Yeah, the stories about that and how their head distiller got his job because he'd worked in Guinness, and they basically just said, "You want to be our head distiller?" Like he showed them round, didn't realize they were interested in buying it, and then they're like, "You want to be our head distiller?" It's like, "Oh, sure, okay, I'll do that."
Yeah, I'm hoping I might try to squeeze another trip in after Thanksgiving, beginning of December, and actually be in the north. Spend a couple days in Belfast.
This is why I'm jealous of people that don't live on the West Coast. It's so much easier to get back over there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to sneak over for a few days. But I haven't really organized that yet because I've got the trip coming up in about a month. So that one's pretty much all figured out except for a couple golf spots. So now I can start thinking about the next one. It's always good to have a trip planned somewhere.
Okay, did you say you're going to Ballykeefe as well?
No, it's only open Monday to Friday. We're going to be driving down from Donegal to Waterford on a Friday. And I don't
Whoa.
think my in-laws will be up for stopping at a distillery. Like if it was midway, it'd be a great break.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
stopping sort of half an hour before you hit Waterford, people won't like that.
That's a
Yeah, that
long
was-
drive from Donegal for Ireland. I mean, it's not a long drive for driving anywhere in Texas for Matt. But
It's long, but it's doable. The only
Yeah.
thing we have to figure out is there's a field in Mayo that my wife and we've been to this field before. Her basically, when she did her genealogy, someone owned the field. The field is still there. We've seen the field. Her father may want to see it. I'm proposing we do it as a separate trip and not on that drive down. But yeah, it's our long day of driving. So they'll want to go to Bennett's Bridge for Nicholas Moss, but I don't think they'll want to go there on that day. And then it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Waterford. We're driving back up to Dublin on the Monday. So we're not going to be going to Ballykeefe on the Monday either. So I think that has to wait for another
time.
Are you going to go see Dahi?
May. Have not decided yet. Have not looked into it, but
Okay,
that's a possibility.
it's not an experience other than dealing with him and Tom. But and a table with lots and lots of different whiskeys.
See, I will be the designated driver.
Oh, even there?
So the problem with lots of samples is I cannot try them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the issue my friend had while we were there as well.
Yeah. Ireland is literally if you have 1 pint of beer, you cannot drive.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until this last trip. You know,
Yep.
'cause
It
we had
came in a couple
taken
of
trains mostly. So.
It wasn't always like that.
No, it came in a couple of years ago. What was hilarious was there's a political family down in Kerry, the Healy Rays, and they proposed that you could have a different drink driving level or limit in the country.
Mhm.
In rural areas, it was you should be allowed to drink more and then drive because it inconvenienced people. So the truth is somewhere between the two, but yes, I will observe the laws when I'm back over there.
That's why I'm looking
Not
forward to
worth it.
the upcoming trip because the people I'm going with, I'm not going to be a driver. So
Nice.
So it's great. So I just I get to ride along, not have to worry about anything, which is rare because usually I'm a driver.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. This will be a little bit different.
Nice. Awesome.
But anybody I don't know, I haven't looked to see who may have dropped off, but don't feel obligated to stick around. We're kind of going into overtime now, which what we tend to do with some of these events.
Well, Alan, I gotta say, so I'm probably the new guy in the group. I'm guessing maybe me and Raphael. Where's everybody from? That's one thing I'm always interested in. I've done like 1 or 2 of these tastings, but I have no idea where everybody's from. Frank, I know. John, I know.
For this event, just for what it's worth, I think I counted up. I think there were 14 different states.
All right.
I live in Texas.
Matt's in Texas. Okay, awesome.
I'll change it slightly by saying from Ireland, but living in California.
Living in California. Gotcha.
Yeah, there were 14 different states represented by people who
That's wild.
who
That's
signed up.
awesome.
I don't think they weren't all on because it looked to me like we only had about half the people actually show, which is not uncommon.
They opened the bottles. I just forgot.
But Yeah, so I think on this call we had California. I'm trying to think of who jumped off.
Do we know how much does a barrel cost to pick up from McConnell's? I'm just curious what the price.
You'd have to just jump on their site to check out the cask program.
Yeah.
I haven't. They all vary, but they're all somewhere in the
6 to 8 for a full cask.
Yeah, say could be a little bit more depending, but some of them are a little pricier. But
bear in mind, 6 to 8 is the initial outlay.
Yep.
It's not the tax, the bottling, the shipping, or any of the less fun pieces that arrive later.
Yeah.
I think it almost doubles the price.
Or you sell it back.
Well, yeah, either way. Yeah, I think you're looking at 18 to 20 grand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think it'll be that. It shouldn't be that much.
Well, it depends on what tariffs are. That's gonna be
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to the point where I gotta get my bottles from Dingle. I'm not expecting to have to spend that, like 10 grand to do it.
We'll just book a bunch of tickets while Aer Lingus is cheap and can mule them over.
I wish.
5 liters at a time, baby.
They said it was a founding father. This is my father's ticket in the seat next to me.
The bottles are so nice. They're, anyone who's had a Dingle bottle and kind of sees like the heavy glassware and all the stuff they do, I get nervous about. It's like
they add a lot of weight too.
Yeah,
to the suitcase.
Right. So I won't be doing that, but it's like you just hope. It's like you wait this long to get the stuff bottled, and it's like, all right, let's not break anything in the shipping prices.
Sir, your bottles are. You have 5 bottles? Yeah. 5 liters. 5 liters. It's not above limit. Yeah, no, definitely not.
Well, I'm already compiling my list of things to bring back or maybe have shipped. We'll see, but
might be cheaper just to get your own container.
Well, this is for the next trip. I've already
share a container with somebody.
I've already seen a few things that carry out Killarney that you can't get in other places, so I'm gonna have to pick those up.
Which ones?
There's the third. I'm trying to remember the exact name. It was the third from Wayward that they did as part of the Friends of Whiskey.
That new one, yeah. I just lost that in auction. That's actually their pot still.
Yeah, it's a pot still cast strength. It looks interesting.
Wow.
It went for 80 in Irish whiskey auctions today.
Okay, I've sampled stuff, at the estate with Morrison. So I was like, oh, pot still, that's a little different. So they're selling that through carryout.
Yeah. Have you had the heritage pot still from them? It's very good, even though it's young. So that bottling should be great.
Yeah. So I'm looking. So I thought maybe I'd grab that. I'd probably get the Method in Madness just because it hasn't been available anywhere. The one that came out
next March.
The Aberana.
Yeah, the one that came out in May.
That's the most unique Method in Madness I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Yeah. It's wild.
Really? Okay. So yes,
in a good way.
Ooh, maybe for March Madness.
In a good way?
Yeah.
It's different and very unique, of course, in a good way.
Someday I will sponsor you to try Fisky.
Okay.
It was a whiskey aged in barrels that held fish. Norwegian one. So
Frank.
Sounds perfect.
There you go. That's so that'll be I think I'll pick that. I think there might have been a third one, I can't remember, but there's still a month to go, so you never know what else might pop up there. But those two things were not available in what I'll call the normal places. So I'd probably pick those up, and those are candidates for the suitcase if I don't accumulate a bunch to have shipped, through say James Fox or somebody.
Yeah. So I'll let you know how Claire to Hear 2 is from W. O'Connell. That should be coming in the next week or two to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did a bottling of a Kalili.
Oh wow.
That I'm getting as well. I don't know if anyone had the Lockendale that he did. It was a Berclotti single cast that he bought. That was really, really good. So, and Kalili's supposed to be great.
I got notified I have a delivery arriving tomorrow
from Mickle.
from Mickle, which is their first release. So I'm looking forward to that.
I will be getting a bottle of that as well. It should be
I
interesting.
tried to get on the lottery, it didn't work.
You win the
Celtic whiskey
lottery.
shop should have
You just-
theirs.
So Jimmy, you got to buy a
Monday.
cask. I mean, then it's easy.
Well, I did.
And
So
those are
here's the thing,
smaller casks.
I did try to go in on a cask with somebody, but they all bailed. So I was like, geez.
It was available for a few hours on Friday, but other places.
It was
were-
gone the time I got it. I went on right when it was launched on their side.
Oh, the
Within
website was
10
down.
minutes, it was gone.
They crashed the site. There was so much demand for it.
So I think Celtic Whiskey Shop will have it Monday, Tuesday, something like
That's what I figured. So I sent an email to them. One of my favorites so far. Them of the sold through.
That was a great tour. You got to try wonderful stuff. It was again, even though it was not.
I hope you
necessarily
weren't
perfect
driving.
built.
That's not the official.
No, I was not driving. We
Okay,
took a
that's
taxi
good.
from Galway out to Salt Hill. We drank in the bar. We went up to the tour, and then we drank in the bar. It's great.
I walked everywhere there, and
Mm-hmm.
it was tasting, and then they just kept giving you more samples.
Yeah.
Of everything. You want seconds, thirds? Fine, yeah, no problem.
We moved on to the comics.
To the
I moved on to O'Connell right now.
Hank, do you have anything else that you're storing and waiting for more bottles to add to the shipment?
The JJ Corey Club is coming, and then I'm gonna get the Lowry Bridge St. Mel's. Has anyone had that?
No.
It's a single malt, but finished in a brown ale from St. Mel's Brewery that's shut down
Yeah.
since then. It
Okay.
sounded kind of interesting.
And did you see JJ or James Fox are getting a new JJ Corey in?
Yeah. That given what I just spent on the Fracano 20 today, I was like, yeah, I got enough JJ Corey for now.
Well, it's because I was laughing at you earlier about all the for Cullen stuff because I can see when you get to New Hampshire in a month, you're gonna be really struggling because they have two unique releases that you're not gonna be able to get anywhere and you can't get shipped. So you're gonna.
So
I can see
their
walk
website
out there.
doesn't describe them in detail. What are the details? There's the 22-year-old you told and a 5-year-old, but it doesn't say what they are.
So what do I got here? I can tell you. Look at that. So the 22-year-old is a Marsala cask at 54.4. So cask strength Marsala single malt.
So probably Marsala finish, which is similar to the 16. I think that's similar to the Palace Bar one that I just got.
The 16-year-old cast strength they had when they did the tour for Cullen was fabulous. Really.
There were 3 of those available on Irish Whiskey Auctions, and then this one from Palace Bar. And I've had the 16-year-old. I've had it twice. It's maybe my favorite whiskey, and I'm getting a little bit low, so is that. But then the Furcullen 20 is the favorite Palace Bar bottling I've ever had from them.
Oh, that's right. So and then the 5
better than their Powers bottling.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can speak to you anymore.
I know. I'm sorry.
On the right side, you won't drink my Powers. Okay, fair enough. You can like a different whiskey.
Ours one's, I mean, the Palace Bar one was really good. The
Yeah.
5 year is a single cask, 61.3%.
Okay.
It doesn't say. I thought I found it, but I've got the label.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say on the label, so it might just be a bourbon.
All right, I'll figure it.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
just
good.
go in with my wife and I'll say, I don't know if I should get this. She's like, we don't come here very often, Hank, and then I'll have to buy it. So
There you go. But yeah, they don't ship from New Hampshire, so you have to do while you're there. And I'll have to see. I might be able. You're staying in the Seaport, you said, when you're visiting.
yeah,
This
yeah,
area.
we get on the 4th. If you have time before you leave on the 5th, right?
Yeah, I leave that night. You know, it's a night flight, so we'll see. I'll see if I can. Unfortunately, I actually have to do some work right before I leave because I'm leaving. And
But you have a job.
yeah, believe it or not, that's why you were saying you need a second job. I gotta at least keep my first job.
Right, I hear you.
But so I actually have, I got to do some important stuff because I'm kind of leaving at a not an ideal time. But
There's never an ideal time in work to take vacation. Therefore, every time is as good or bad as any other time.
Yeah.
You, my friend, just said it right there, because
Mhm.
Unless you work in tax, then then you're kind of screwed.
Mhm.
unless you work in what?
Tax.
Oh,
Tax.
gotcha.
Yeah.
For my
Yeah.
for my job,
Health
I've
business.
given up looking, going, that's a bad time for workers. The next week could be bad. Something could be released, it could get delayed for 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
4 weeks. It's just like, take your vacation, figure it out.
I'm with you, man, because I took over a new job this year, and it's in footwear development, and I'm like, we've changed our calendar 16 times, and
Yeah.
last year I'm like, yeah, fuck it.
And why do you, because it doesn't matter, Jimmy, because feet will always be there.
Feet will
Years
always
ago,
be
I
there,
remember-
but basketball games when it needs to be released by will not always. But you know
Be there.
what? It's all right. It's all
Years
There's
ago, I
good.
had a
basketball
manager
year
who
round now.
she'd
It
always
is,
on
isn't
her
it wild?
vacation
You can have like
2
the
weeks
D
after.
League shoe.
Oh, so John,
Kean's moved on to an ale.
John had to jump, but he got his Mickle bottle
He
coming
did.
too,
He
so that's
did.
good.
He did.
So
I'm gonna cry in my sleep tonight.
well, just send him another email saying to have him open it and bring it to the next, tasting.
All I can say, Jimmy, is my email to Celtic Whiskey Shop worked, and I will be getting a bottle because
Okay.
I did their
I
Springbank
was gonna send them
coffee
an
as
email
well.
and see what I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, how was the 2 bottles that you tried the last couple days that you had picked up?
Oh, the 2 stacks.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord, that 12-year single grain, Alan, was exceptional. I think I liked it better than the 20-year single malt.
Is that
Okay.
the ripeness finish?
I haven't had 2 stacks. I don't
That
like
was
it.
the one that's it was the American rye finish.
Yeah, I have a bottle of that. I haven't opened it yet, but it
Oh,
looks good.
incredible. My God.
They have a Belfast whiskey release that just came out. It's one of the canned releases.
Yeah, it looked interesting, but I looked the price of shipping was more than the whiskey.
That's why I just shipped it to my parents' house in Dublin, because
There you
4
go.
cans is easy to put into my luggage. So you and Hank may be covered, so don't worry.
All right. Well, I was gonna say that was I was talking earlier about devising the itinerary and trying to squeeze a lot of stuff in. So when we did the trip this year from Galway, the halfway point to Dublin to go to Whiskey Live is Kilbeggan, so that worked out.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh, I'm sorry. Your trip to Dublin from the West Coast worked out. Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
we got
That
there.
wasn't what I heard when we got there.
We got there. Some people
Take the train. Take the train.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, so from Belfast, I was looking at the route. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty much a straight shot.
Yeah.
Got to go drive right by the 2 stacks operation. So it's like, maybe have to give
That'd
them
be a good place
give
to
them
stop.
a call,
Yeah.
stop in there. And,
So 2 stacks, or if Boan ever open up a tourist center, then Boan and Newgrange. But yeah, otherwise it's a short enough drive that it's 2 hours.
Has anyone else got and opened the new Bowen hot stills?
No, I cannot wait
But
to
haven't
get them,
opened
though.
yet.
I
We'll
haven't,
open this.
but haven't opened them yet.
They're really good. I prefer the Madeira and the Marsala to the sherry one.
Mhm.
That's 2 different sherries, but they're very good.
I'm looking forward to them. I'm a big fan of, the Whistler range is the only thing I've had from Boan, but
Yeah.
man, I'm looking so forward to them.
Yeah, because that has their pot still new make that's won a bunch of
Mhm.
awards. It's there.
And
I waited, and then I was bored, and I bought them.
well,
Yeah.
their sauces releases were good. Their source stuff was good. Their new make was good.
Yeah.
I was surprised. To be surprised that they didn't release one of the single pot stills, just bourbon cask, just so you could try it as is.
Yeah,
so to speak.
maybe. They're also very, very cool bottles. So if you do any rebottling and experimentation, getting the labels off them, they're very reusable and very cool.
But I think to Alan's point, a lot of their unique selling point is they source in good casks from elsewhere. So they have a lot of connections in wine and spirit. So a bourbon cask is nearly, well, we don't deal in bourbon casks, so that's why we won't do it. But maybe at some point in the future. I
think I only bring it up just because it was their first release. I mean, I know they did the new makes and stuff, but Yeah, I think I only got 2 of the 3, Hank. I didn't get the well, I ordered the PX
Yeah.
and I got sent the Madeira.
Okay.
Okay, so you
So then,
mixed.
so then I had the PX
Mezcal as
sent,
well.
so I ended up with 2 bottles.
Okay. So you got the Madeira and the PX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They're good.
yeah, those will be open, I think, the end of the month.
Yeah. Right now in my I just took my Sleeve League canteen that I had filled with mezcal for about a month and a half, and I just
The only
emptied
person
it.
that didn't returnish.
Yes, correct. And
Is
I
that
just
true? Is that true that you have a one of a kind thing now?
I don't know if I'm one of a kind. They're
Well,
actually what
or you are, man.
they are creating something similar, but with I think glass around everything inside, and it's costing like $75,000 to $100,000 to James. But I just put Karak kombu in it because the next Karak release is going to be a mezcal finish.
Yeah.
Well, you have
It's not
you have-
enough. You got to do it in mezcal too. All right.
Yep.
we have a correct seaweed lover on this call right now.
We have several.
Frank is really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
I love
Okay.
it. I love all of them.
Really? Okay.
When is that released? Do you know?
They're not very communicative, but I think
Right.
September.
And would that be like through the normal like way?
Yeah, I think last time they carried it was through Irish Malts.
Right.
And Irish Malt still has their Western Herd IPA, Flora and Fauna version. They still have the sake cask one.
I do find it funny though, calling it like a mezcal cask, because yes, while some tequilas are aged in casks, mezcals generally aren't. It's like when they did the Inish Turk Beg release was in a Puccine cask. It's like, well, Puccine isn't generally aged in casks.
But so is Inverin. Inverin uses casks that have held Mickle Puccine for a little bit.
It's like sherry ones now. It's like we will put the liquid into a cask and claim it's that cask.
Yeah. The Inverin though does.
You get the flavor from there.
Yeah, it's doing something right. Yeah. That one is better than most when it comes to young sourced blends. It's got to be the cask.
My new non-Irish thing is Pachuga Mezcal. You guys know what that is? I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Which type of Pachuga? What are you hanging when you're making your Pachuga?
The one I've had, the Montablos is turkey.
Okay.
You guys know what they do?
No.
I'm a huge mezcal fan, and it's really interesting how they, but it's almost essentially like adding in the flavors. But so there's 2 things they do. So there's the Pachuga itself, where there's everything from venison to rabbits to chicken breast, and they'll put it inside the still and distill it with it inside, and some of those oils will just drop in and give it unique flavors. But some of them throw in spices, they throw in corn, they throw in other things, and it's really meant to be like a celebratory, where they take the mezcal, usually they distill it multiple times too, but they'll make a celebratory batch where they'll throw in all these extra spices and stuff to really beef it up and make it more unique for a wedding or somebody's funeral or something.
That's awesome.
It's interesting.
The one I have is not custom made for any event in my life, but it's very good.
No,
that's
but
very cool. That's more than I know about it.
It's interesting to hear the culture about it.
No, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it definitely gives it unique flavor, which I find, especially different types of meat, different types of fruits and vegetables that they put in there inside the stills. It's
what would you recommend as another one to get? I've had the Montablos.
The Montablos. So Real Minero is one of my favorites. They always have really good. Gracias a Dios is another great mezcal that usually go to El Holgorio is probably my favorite mezcaleros.
I
They
think
have
that might be in New Hampshire, Alan, because I was looking at mezcals too. So
There you go.
awesome.
yeah.
Great.
I was gonna say you're gonna feel like you're in, Disney World or something when you go to New Hampshire liquor store compared from where you are.
Oh my God, they keep shrinking them in more and more.
Oh, really?
If
Yeah,
it
it's
helps,
less
I
and less.
did a subscription club. If I can butcher the words and the pronunciation, it was like Magway Melate, and they do different bottlings. You get basically 2 375 ml bottles and 1 100 ml bottle
Right.
every quarter, and it was a very interesting subscription. I
Oh,
found
wow.
it really difficult the first time I tried it because trying to describe the flavors, it's nothing like whiskey. It's an entirely new
Agreed.
vocabulary that nearly started off with like lemon furniture polish, not in a bad sense, as the first thing I could taste when I was trying it. It's really interesting.
I'm just really happy here that you may be mispronouncing rather than me.
Oh God, yes. No, I'm sure I'm butchering the name, but I'll put it into the chat as well.
Is Matt Squire pouring the crystal malt? Is that what I just saw?
Red wine.
Red wine. Gotcha. Oh,
Crystal malt is great.
Yep. The crystal malt is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Apparently, Bushmills are coming out with another crystal malt that may or may not be related to their 1608 crystal malt one based on the age of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that becomes.
It said 26 years on
Yes,
the
because it's
bill
been
and
that
name.
long since they've released the last
Okay.
one.
Yeah, I was gonna say last. It's been
I know of another bottle that has a little bit of crystal malt in it, or another cask that has a little bit of crystal malt in it.
Allegedly. We'll make sure we stick a nail in that cask.
Don't do that.
I won't.
Cask game is strong.
I think I told you guys I really enjoyed the Baylock I was drinking. I put the bottle away because it's a small bottle. So I said, okay, that's enough of that. I'll put it away for a little while.
Alan, you buy another bottle and you drink your first bottle. You don't put it away. You just buy more.
I'm trying to.
They still have some at Irish Malts, I think. When you get your Grenache.
Well, what was funny
if you
was
have to buy one.
the Celtic or Irish whiskey auction. Someone paid over what Irish Malts will sell the Cork Whiskey Festival bottle for. I'm like, why would you spend extra?
It happens a lot. People get
Because they don't know.
They want to win.
Right.
They want to win, so they end up overpaying for certain things that they can get cheaper elsewhere. But it's all part of the fun, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Or sometimes they just don't know, because how many people go to Irish malts if they a lot more people go to the auctions than to Irish.
Yeah, but if you're going to the auctions, you ought to be going to Irish Malts and
Yeah,
James Fox and Celtic Whiskey.
If you're a member, you
go.
should be checking out Irish Malts and James Fox every Tuesday when all the new releases come out.
Oh wait, because we get a discount with Irish.
Yeah. Well, plus
for those where Hank and I are great proponents of Waylock. I love what they do. They're really, really good. Highly recommend them.
Yeah.
Do they do a Pachin as well?
Oh yes,
Mulroy
they do
Bay.
many Pachins.
Mulroy Bay. Yeah,
sure, but they're not doing that. They're de-emphasizing them.
Yes.
Oh, really?
They were saying we're switching to whiskey only, and then they announced a batch of rums. But yeah, most of the Pachins will be auction sites now. But everything
they try to get some
very good.
them.
Yeah,
I feel like they must just be trying to get rid of stuff because of lack of room. Because I had to laugh at the bottle I was drinking because it's like they were a month shy of hitting the 3-year point.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not even going to wait to call it whiskey. We'll just release it now as a spirit.
They haven't released anything that counts as whiskey.
Okay, Alan, you're forgetting. So the stuff they have now is not whiskey because it's too young. But Alan's like, why they do it when it's a month away? Because he forgets that in that part of the country, they reverse month and day.
It's true.
So it was like 2 years and 6 months. So it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But he is running out of space.
No.
He doesn't have a lot of space. Yeah.
You got to go to town council to get anything built, so it's going to take a few minutes.
Well, I was going to say if it was a little bit more on the beaten path, people would be driving through and just picking up stuff. But it's a little out of the
there.
But Yeah, but okay. All right. So we're among friends. If you
He'll lock the
put
gate.
in Google Maps the address for Baylock, it'll go to a neighbor's house about a mile down the street, and they'll look at you sideways. And then you call him because you bought a cask. So, and he's like, "Oh, did you go there? Don't go there. Why didn't you get the pin from me?" So,
Which is why I'm emailing him before I go there.
yes, yes, yeah. So, but it's a very cool small operation, but he's not he doesn't have time because he's a one man band basically. He's got a few
Really?
people to help him from time to time, but he makes
Wow.
amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna check in on Killarney, which has been distilling now for I think a little over a year.
I would say which of them, because wasn't there a dispute over who owned?
Yeah, there's one.
brewing?
It's really confusing, and I have to like double check every time. The one that's called Killarney Distillery is actually the beer maker. And the one that's called Killarney Brewing and Distilling is the distillery. So it's
Oh.
really, but that's because that other one took the name, even though
Oh.
even though they weren't making whiskey.
Can't
Or,
see the
you know,
confusion at all.
So it just
It's totally clear.
but the one that's the big one, and you can't really miss it because it's massive. The new distillery, it's like 3 sections. The middle section is the gift shop, lobby, restaurant. And then the right side is the beer, the brewery, and the left side is the distillery with all the stills, and it's all glass frontage, and it overlooks the McGillicuddy Reeks. Unbelievable spot.
Nice.
But I was there when they were still finishing up, kind of. I think they were just about doing their grand opening, but they actually hadn't been given permission to start distilling. So that was like a year and a half ago. So I think they've been distilling a little over a year. So you haven't heard much. They actually just did release a new sourced whiskey though. That was the other one that I saw. I probably wouldn't get it at Carry Out Killarney, but I'd buy it at the distillery because it's literally a mile away from from my cottage in Killarney.
Oh, nice.
So
Is Morris going to start using them to distill versus Great Northern?
I haven't talked to him because he wasn't at Whiskey Live, and I haven't, I haven't communicated because I know he's been, he was doing some other country festivals and stuff, so I think he's been on the road. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's already got a deal with them, so it's hard to say. I don't know if Killarney's going to want him putting out their stuff or not.
Right.
But they're going to be real interesting because they have a well-established brewery. And so they're going to be able to do, their own finishes and stuff. So it opens up possibilities of stuff they'll be able to release in a few years. And they've got money because I don't know what the percentages are, but their money came from Chicago, a lot of it. So
that makes it sound like it's the mob.
That's what I was just
The money came from Chicago. Okay.
Well, there's family. It's not the family, but there's family interests that were in Chicago. So but
starting with a bin, ending with innies.
No, not that one, but different one.
Hey, Alan, which one is the distillery? Is that on the road going out of Killarney toward Dingle, going west, or is the one that's south? Because I think we went into a brewery that was south of Killarney there. Who took over the distillery part?
Well, there's technically what I would call 3 locations. So there's a small one right outside of Killarney town on I think it's Muckross Road. No.
Yeah, going down toward Muckross. Yeah, going south. Yeah, okay. That's
it's
what
right, like you can walk to town. It's right there, and that's just the brewery, the original brewery, and they have like really good pizza. Like that was their thing, pizza and beer. And then they built this massive distillery outside of town on the Fossa Road. that you can't miss because it's just
Okay, and that's what I'm thinking of. If you're going toward Calorglan, I guess it is. It's on the right-hand side.
yeah,
It's
right.
okay.
And like
But they still own the distillery piece and the name, I guess.
yes,
Sounded like there was some
third. Then there's the third one, which is a different company that's in like a warehouse district. And they're really just kind of, they've made some beer. It's funny though, every time I research them, it's like, okay, but I don't see any of your products anywhere. But they haven't done any whiskey or anything. And even in Killarney, I don't see their products. I don't really know how viable they are, to be honest with you. They have
Alan, the one that's the warehouse is listed as closed now, just as
yes, wouldn't surprise me. But they put a lot of money into the new distillery, so they ain't gonna be changing the name now. I don't think, but yeah, it's worth checking out. It's basically across the street from Wayward.
okay.
You know, so
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of on the way back out. Okay.
yeah. So like you got the Liberator range and Wayward and the estate, and then there's like a big open field where you can see really cool views. That's right across from Killarney. But you can well, you have to arrange a special visit because it's Maurice's house, you know, so you can't just stop in. But well, you can, but he'd probably keep the gate locked. But yeah, so they're right by each other, right outside of Killarney town. But yeah, so
take care, y'all.
any other final thoughts? Anybody questions while I got you here? All right, well,
Thank you as always, Alan.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be in contact soon with the bottle release. And so hopefully you guys can grab a bottle and we'll get together, you know, and about end of September time frame and share another whiskey.
Heck yeah.